Hi, my name is Ben Carter, and I'm the director of the Indianapolis Public Schools Career Technology Center.
Ben, what types of things in terms of assessment do you look for in new teachers' classrooms?
When I'm conducting classroom walkthroughs or classroom observations, I understand that assessment and evaluation is a continuous process, and so it's not just an end-of-the-year test that I'm looking for teachers to provide to their students, but when I come in, I want to see that teachers are checking for student understanding of the daily learning objectives. So if there is a concept that they're trying to get across to their students on that day, how are they checking to make sure that 100% of their students are mastering that learning objective? And that's a key component of assessing mastery. So there's a lot of different, there's traditional and authentic, and there's also just having conversations with students too. So it could be a paper-based test that they give at the end of the class period, a mini quiz, an exit ticket. It could be a conversation that they're checking in with each of the students to see their progress on the learning objective for that day. And it could be different group check-ins as well. But I just want to make sure that they're questioning all of their students and really making students grapple with that learning objective for the day.
What's the most important you feel a new teacher should know about assessments?
I think one of the most important things, there's a lot to know about assessments. It's not an easy topic. So don't get frustrated with it. But one of the most important things to know is the difference between formative and summative. So a lot of teachers come in and they say, all right, well, I'm going to give this test at the end of the year. I have my certification, and I know we've been doing it every day. I just see my students, they're practicing it every day. I'm giving them, materials from the textbook. They're completing this work, and I know they're going to pass it. But my question to you is, how do you really know? So the summative assessment is that end of the year, the culminating test that they have to take for their certification. But the formative assessment is that key lever. So it's you checking in with your students, whether it's formal or informal. So formal would be, your quizzes, or informally maybe just checking for understanding during the course of a lesson. But you need to check in with your students, whether it's through your midterm assessment, different assessments along the way of each unit. You should have an assessment for each unit. And I think then at the end of the year, you won't be hoping that they're going to pass the technical skills certification. You'll know beyond a shadow of a doubt because you've been checking in with them with these assessments along the way. And the reason you check in is because when you see your results from those assessments along the way, you can change and modify your instruction to make sure that you're reteaching the concepts that the majority of the students don't get, or you're reteaching and personalizing instruction for those few students that might have not mastered a particular concept. So I think that understanding the difference between summative and formative, and really using those formative assessments to ensure that 100% of your students are going to achieve a passing score on that technical skills certification.
In CTE, it's really important, I think, too, for project-based learning. I think it's important to be able to have assessments there as well. So what do you feel about that?
I definitely think that's something important. Project-based learning is very fun for students. So they really enjoy it. They get their hands on. They get to build different things. And I see that there's a couple different ways that teachers assess students if you're going to be an effective project-based learning teacher. The first thing is you need to have kind of a checklist that you're kind of managing that project. You're almost like the project manager, and the students are sharing the project that they've done, and you're checking off all of those specifics that you've given them from the outset. It's almost like a rubric. So you're going to do a rubric to check off their project and just to see kind of what level of mastery they've achieved in that project. And then it's also important for you to do those traditional assessments as a project-based learning teacher, because if you don't do those, you're setting your students up for failure on their final summative tests. So you need to make sure that they're doing those written traditional assessments, as well as maybe those rubric-based, project-based learning if they're constructing a house in architecture or whatever it might be. They also need to do the paper-based tests just to make sure that they're on track with some of that content knowledge that is vitally important for them to pass those end-of-course assessments.
What advice would you have for new CTE teachers, WS1 teachers, as they get into the field to learn about assessments and gain as much knowledge as quickly as possible?
Definitely. The first thing I would say is, make sure that you're really utilizing your WS1 mentor to the fullest capability. They're former teachers or current teachers, and they really know their craft, or they wouldn't have been selected by their administrator. So you need to ask them specifically, be intentional. What do you think about my assessments? Have them evaluate it. give your assessments to your administrator. Ask them to help you. I know that I'm very happy when any one of my teachers comes to me and asks, can you look over my assessment? Can you help me build an assessment? That's definitely something that's part of our job. So I want to make sure that any workplace specialist, person and new teacher to the field, knows that they can come to their administrator and say, help me with this, review this, and reach out to their fellow colleagues as well.